Hello and welcome to the Intellectual Tea Party Podcast. This is episode 5 on date July 20th, 2018. I'm your host as always, Tanner Koch, and this is going to be another film-specific podcast. It's not my intent to do 3 episodes in a row specifically based on film, but it is my area of expertise and it's what I'm most passionate about, and it has been a fire week as far as news goes for the film industry. Comic-Con is currently going on. It's the second day of San Diego Comic-Con. We're getting lots of trailers and news beats coming out, so I've got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but I'm actually going to choose to do that on a separate podcast because there's been a couple of major controversies that have come out in the past week in the film industry that I want to go over, and a little bit later on in the podcast, I'm going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while, and it's the debate of Moviepass versus the AMC Stubs A List program. I now have experience with both of those subscription services. I'll talk about those a little bit later on with the intricate story. But for now, as of today, I'm going to get started with the latest controversy. I'll go back to last week's a little bit later, but fresh off the news... I'm sorry, I'm just baffled by the news from today. James Gunn has been fired by Disney as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He, of course, wrote and directed the first 2 films in the Guardians franchise and made indie horror hits such as Slither and Tromeo and Juliet, and he directed Super with Rainn Wilson and Ellen Page. Why this came about was being dubbed as a conservative writer, a guy named Mark, I don't remember his last name, Mike, one of those 2 things. Anyway, regardless, this guy, he dug up old tweets from James Gunn from well over 10 years ago, where, and blog posts as well from his personal website. But James Gunn, back in the day, was a dirty motherfucker, and he made a lot of jokes on Twitter about pedophilia, specifically. Lots and lots of jokes about that. And, you know, he tagged Michael Rooker and Lloyd Kaufman and some other notable names of people that he's friends with in these tweets. And, you know, it was just online jests, and they could in no way be construed as being serious. With that being said, there was a lot of them. And they are disturbing words, but like I was saying, they should in no way be interpreted as being serious. But apparently it's serious enough to lose a major job and take a huge hit on your career for stuff like that. But that's the world we live in here in 2018. There's a couple bits of hypocrisy on this that just alone gets me angry. For one, the man who brought this controversy to the light is a man who has written several articles and blog posts over the year pretty much promoting sexual assault and rape versus women. I've read a few of his writings as of today, and that dude's a real piece of shit. So the hypocrisy of him bringing this to light and getting so much notoriety for it really disgusts me. But as a whole, this is kind of what has happened in the media in general today, where now everybody with a Twitter account is now an indicting judge, you know, at their fingertips. And things are getting done by a worldwide committee now where outrageous controversies pop up, and studios will bend the knee to these things that are coming up online. I'll talk about another one here in a little bit, but let's take care of this first. The other bit of hypocrisy is that this controversy came to light 6 years ago when Disney initially hired him for Guardians of the Galaxy, the original film. A blog post was shared from the GLAAD community from a satirical 50 superheroes you want to have sex with, Volume 2, from James Gunn's personal website many years ago, and that came to light around the time of his hiring. And he released several statements on this matter, and you know, even through GLAAD, and he revealed that he was a younger man and he was trying to be a provocateur And his reading now as an older person, he realizes that his jokes were in no way funny at all and very offensive, and he was very apologetic about it. And I think it's sincere. And I've followed the guy long enough now to where I do believe his words. And I mean, to be honest with you, if you went back to my Twitter account from 10 years ago, you'd find many, many offensive things that I said in the case of trying to be funny. But if I were to look back on it today, I would really be horrified with a lot of the things I said back in my younger day. The point is, people change, people mature, and it's crazy that Disney... The problem I have with this more than anything is that, as I said, that this controversy came out 6 years ago when he was initially hired for the first film, and Disney didn't care. And they went along with putting him on this franchise and shepherding it, really. And so it wasn't an issue when he made the apology and talked about it 6 years ago. But now, in our year of 2018, where Twitter is God, I guess, and people are outraged, and Disney on the spot today, no time frame to study into things or anything, just dropped him like a hat. Now, I mean, you could be saying, oh, well, he's already rich and successful, it doesn't matter. Sure, relevant, he'll be fine on a financial standpoint for time being. Who knows what will happen to his career at this point? I'm sure he'll bounce back. Everybody does eventually. I mean, fucking Mel Gibson has made several movies at this point. He did way worse things. The point is, I'm tired of this PC Nation judging everything by committee and getting their way in things like this. And it's just sad. It's just sad that you're affecting people's lives with your personal opinions, and the people ahead of these important, powerful studios are stupid enough to bend the knee to that. And you know, you could have arguments against it as well. I mean, earlier this year there was the Roseanne Barr controversy. Disney fired her, canceled her show. Well, canceled it, and then decided to keep making it just without her. So we'll see how that goes. It's a typical sense of trying to have your cake and eat it too. So I can get why the entirety of this situation is solely brought upon by political arguments, and a sense that people around the world are now split in half, particularly in America, due to our two-party system, which is outdated and truly ruining ourselves as a culture. To the point where now every single thing has to be, picked apart. Any simple joke you make is going to be offensive to somebody in some way. Like, I honestly don't think we're going to have stand-up comics anymore within the next 10 years if things are going to keep going this way, because everybody is offended by everything. And I'm not defending the things that James Gunn said. He said some really awful shit, but he said them in jest, and it was a different time. I mean, I don't want to sound like an old man, talking about, your racist poppy or whatever. It's like it was just a part of the times. But it's true. Like I was saying with, my tweets from 10 years ago, if I went back to see what I thought was funny and humorous back then, it's not funny at all. I was saying a lot of offensive shit about many minority groups, and because at the time it was the norm. People did stuff like that. And no, in this day and age, people have evolved, and they do have more of a conscience. And I don't make jokes like that anymore, but I certainly have. And these constant witch hunts are just insane. And then we're attacking entertainers, people in the entertainment industry. People in political office from both sides of the aisle are doing insane, crazy shit on a daily basis with no repercussions. And people are losing their jobs making movies for a tweet. It's insanity. So that's today's controversy. We'll see what subsides from this. We'll see if there's any aftermath. See if there's any kickback from the actors. Like I said, this movie was going into production later this year. We'll see how they bounce back. But we'll go on to the next subject. I'm going to restart the video portion of this recording, and we'll pick right back up here in a couple seconds. Speaking of, if you would rather watch my beautiful face talk into this illustrious microphone, you can tune in on youtube.com/intellectual tea party. But let's move on to the next subject. Moving on to the second controversial topic of this past week. A little less than 2 weeks ago, Scarlett Johansson was cast in a film called Rub and Tug to be directed by Rupert Sanders, who made the Snow White movie with Kristen Stewart and subsequently got busted cheating on his wife with her afterwards. And then that's what he's most famous for. And then he also made the Ghost in the Shell whitewashed movie with Scarlett Johansson. The background is the film takes place throughout the 70s and 80s. I believe it's a true story. I could be definitely wrong about that. I don't have my notes in front of me. I did a little bit of studying on this, but essentially it tells a story of a transsexual man who's running a brothel type establishment out of his hair salon in the 70s and 80s. And the controversy is that Scarlett Johansson, a cisgender woman, was cast in the role. And she got a lot of backlash, and rightfully so. She had a very feisty response when the controversy rolled up. A lot of people on the internet were upset that she was cast with those qualifications, and there's been a lot of controversy over the last several years from the trans community about roles involving trans people being cast with cisgender people. And it's definitely a commendable movement, and I definitely understand the issues at hand. I couldn't imagine being in that situation, particularly for those actors who are trying to get roles, and they're already at a disadvantage, and then roles that are, you would think are clear cut for them, not to, say that they couldn't play cisgender characters, which is another part of the controversy, but people were hell-bent and crazed when this casting was announced, and Scarlett Johansson's response was to talk to Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman's agents, alluding to those actors who have won awards and acclaim for playing transgender characters that, and they're, of course, cisgender actors. Definitely, absolutely understand where they're coming from with this regard. But my argument on this is, don't go after the actress, for this. Clearly, these type of roles I would consider Oscar bait, She's going for gold here. She's trying to get a juicy role that will, that people will recognize as a performance more so than, just trying to check out her ass, or something like that. Or, obviously she does a lot of sci-fi and action movies, but she's trying to do something more meatier, it seems. Okay, so my problem with the outrage over her casting is this. Okay, I absolutely, it's a great idea to have trans actors get more opportunities, and particularly for a meaty role like this. With that being said, the number one purpose for making a film, first and foremost, is to make money. Filmmaking and television making is a business first and foremost. It is about making money. That's it. You do have your intellectual / artistic viewpoints and purposes of a project, but the main goal is to make money. And when it comes to a project like this, particularly with like a studio director, they had Scarlett Johansson, who I believe is the top earning actress in the film industry today. The way that movies work is you get talent attached to them, and that's how you get financing. They had a studio director and an A-list actress attached to this film, and that's what got the funding. That's what was going to get the film made. Now you've had this controversy, and by the way, she did drop the role. I did not mention that. So after her not very pleasant response, she got her asshole ripped through a few more times, and then she dropped the role, released some statements supporting of the LGBT community, and she brought apart, she brought up the controversy at hand, and the fairness level for these trans actors, and it's definitely a good movement. What I'm saying is, the reason this movie was getting made in the first place is because of the talent attached to it. Now that this whole controversy has happened and she's left the role, I'm assuming the movie will not end up getting made. Not only have you thrown off the production cycle of the film, but now that you've lost your A-list actress, you could go for another one. But the point is that after you bent the knee to these demands, you're not going to get another. No other actress is going to want to touch this role, if they're still going the actress route, of course, because they'll get the exact same response that Scarlett Johansson got in this situation. Now, back up a little bit, there was a previous controversy with Scarlett Johansson when she was casting Ghost in the Shell for the whitewashing thing, which has been talked about ad nauseum. You don't need me to talk about that. Everybody knows about that. That's another, it's another important movement, and it makes sense, but you got to look at things multiple sides of the aisle. In that particular case, that I never saw the Ghost in the Shell movie, but from what I'm told, it's like an American adaptation, but she still had a Japanese name and stuff, so you could definitely say that the major should be Japanese. At the same time, we're talking about an android here. You can make her look anything. You can make her look any way that you want to. Why am I talking about this movie? I haven't seen it from 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Getting back to the point, no actress is going to touch this role now. You could go the route of casting a trans actor, as is, the whole point of this controversy. With that being said, star power is very important. And you could go and get that actor, that trans actor / actress, for these roles. The problem is you're not going to get the same budget. You're probably not going to keep that studio director. Your budget is going to go down by many, many, many millions of dollars. And we're talking about a completely different movie here. So I don't know the extent of what transpired in the script of this film. I don't know, if it could be done on a small independent budget or whatnot. The point is, the movie probably won't get made now. I don't know if it matters. Who knows what the quality of the film would have ended up being. The point is, I'm tired of the internet having an unruly fist on entertainment, and specifically the business end of the entertainment industry. It harkens to, or even outside of controversies like this, even simple things like people demanding that Netflix pick up a certain show that was canceled, or you gotta take all these characters from this saga and then make a whole new thing with it. Give me an all-female Marvel film, which could be fun. Things need to be done from a story standpoint and a financial standpoint. Things can't just be done just because they sound like fun ideas, or it's just like it's a good thing for, equality, or, PC statements. Things need to be done from an artistic value and also a logistic value. Things are getting better. The FX has a new series called Pose from Ryan Murphy, and it's got almost entirely a trans cast. That's wonderful. So that's great. I'm glad to see that more opportunities are coming to trans actors, and that's cool. Obviously, Jeffrey Tambor has been fired from his show, and there's a lot of opportunity on that. They should be ending up this coming season, though. But good. I'm glad that the movement's happening, and I'm sure one of these days we will break that barrier. But I'm just saying, keep in mind, in a lot of these projects, it's the star power that's getting them made. So it's possible we won't see that film. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out there about the filmmaking process. But she'll be fine. In the aftermath of leaving that project, it was announced that a director has been found for a Black Widow movie from Marvel. And so Scarlett Jo will be getting a solo movie starring the characters she's been playing for the past 8 years. Also will be a origin story, I guess. I don't know if that alludes to the outcome of Avengers 4 at all or not. We'll see how that goes, but interesting choice to do a prequel, but it makes sense. So with that being said, let's move on to something else. Finally, we land on my main topic of today's podcast, and that is the debate of Moviepass versus the newly released AMC Stubs A List membership. They really need a new name for that. Preface, I've been a subscriber to Moviepass since October of 2017, so I've had it about 10 months now. I'm on the $10 a month plan. So, and I've seen well over 30 movies with my Moviepass in that time frame. Seen 32, 35 movies in that time span. It would equal $100 spent over the last 10 months at $10 a month. So that's a pretty good deal. There's been some issues with Moviepasses coming together, as many upstart companies are. They're changing their policies a lot. And when I initially signed up for the Moviepass, you could see as many movies as you want, but you could see one movie a day. And you could see the same movie several times. It's good at... I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's good towards AMC, most AMC theaters. There's a chain called Studio Movie Grill that I frequent a lot with it solely because you can book tickets online with Moviepass with that particular chain. Every other chain, at least here in Arizona, you have to be physically present in person to purchase a pass. And that was always an issue, especially trying to get tickets with other people who want to join me. And in this day and age where most theaters are now having reserved seating. So that did present issues. I still was very happy with the service for a long time. Beginning of this year, they changed their policy to where you cannot see repeat movies anymore. That's fine, whatever. I'm still getting to see any movie I want pretty much every day of the week. Then they started changing. They had some other price point policies and opportunities. I stuck with my original. After that, they started implementing a clause where you need to take a picture of your movie stub to prove that you physically owned it afterwards for some reason. And there was also controversy that the app was tracking your location to see if you left the premises of the theater. And I can get where they're going with that policy. They're trying to make sure that you're not purchasing a movie ticket and scalping it and just collecting the money. So I could see it from that standpoint. That makes sense on a business standpoint. People have been wondering, with this deal, how could they possibly be making a profit by the vast amounts of movie tickets that are being sold? Because they have millions of subscribers at this point. So just by common sense, you'd think, wow, they're paying full price tickets for these theaters. Whenever somebody books a ticket, they're paying the full price. And so they're dumping millions upon possible billions of dollars. And their business plan says that they'll recoup money through other ventures, i.e. selling information collected from the user agreements, tracking to see what you do and what movies you see and stuff like that. That's just normal stuff with this day and age as far as internet and applications go. So I don't have a problem with that either. They did a thing where they were making deals with studios to help promote them. I remember when I, Tonya came out, you would open up the app and then there would be advertisements to go see I, Tonya. So they're collecting revenue from that way as well. And then they started partially releasing films. The film Gotti with John Travolta, famous for receiving 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. They helped distribute that film, as well as another one whose name escapes me at the moment. Apparently that one was fairly decent. Anyway, in the news recently, it was discussed that Moviepass needs to gain $1.2 billion in equity by the end of the year to stay afloat. Their head of their business didn't have an issue with this and seems to be pretty confident that things will keep going on. But here's where things get interesting. Starting in July of this year, it was announced to all Moviepass members that they would start charging premium pricing. That would be extra fees if you're seeing movies that were popular or at opening weekend. Stuff where heavily populated films would be. And I got very irked by that, but I was like, I could probably dance around that and still get my value out of this subscription service. Until last week, I went to go see the film Sorry to Bother You, and indie film. It was wild, just as advertised. I won't go into a big, long review about that. It was a decent movie. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, but it was as advertised. It just ended up being a lot crazier than I even anticipated, but it was still fairly enjoyable nonetheless. So I go with my lady to go see a 6 o'clock showing of Sorry to Bother You. It was on a Friday night. We'll give you that. It was a Friday night. But this is an independent film. The theater was 70% empty, and they charged me extra money to book the ticket for that screening. And I've gotten a great value out of the subscription service, but that just pissed me off. There's already so many restrictions going against Moviepass now. Like every other week, there's a new rule that you have to follow. Also, fun tidbit, the shared information sent to me via email saying that with the picture policy, you have to take a picture of your stub immediately after buying your ticket. If you fail to take a picture of your movie stub 2 times in a row within a certain window of time, they will automatically cancel your subscription, and you will not be able to re-sign up for 8 months. So just on principle, and after getting charged the premium price to see any movie, I was fed up and annoyed, and it already had so many hoops to jump through just to use the pass, and I missed out on so many movies just because of the inability to book tickets ahead of time. You'd have to get there several hours early to get a decent seat. So with that being said, I have been intrigued at this new AMC Stubs A List membership, which is it's less than Moviepass as far as the movies you get to see. You get to see 3 movies a week. When I signed up for the app, though, it did inform me that you can dip into your movies from for the upcoming week as well, if need be. And you can see repeat movies, and along with that, you can book your tickets online in advance, and you can purchase additional tickets for your friends, and the online fees are waived. And so that in itself already sounded like a wonderful deal to me. It is more money. It's $20 a month for this subscription fee. I'm paying $10 a month right now for Moviepass. But that in itself was already worth it to me, just to not have to deal with the hassle of being there in person. Plus, you can use it on specialty screens. You can see 3D movies, IMAX movies, Dolby Digital Cinema films. That's great. Plus, you get the perks of a AMC Premier Stubs member, which is you get to go to the VIP lines at the box office and the concession stand. You get free upgrade sizes on popcorn and soda, and you get $5 credits for every $50 you spend. Plus, your monthly membership fee does go towards that Stubs rewards. So it seemed like a no-brainer to me. And I signed up for the service, and it was easy to use, and I got to see an expensive movie for free. I have always been intrigued by Dolby Cinema. I had never done it before because it's outrageously expensive, but you can use this pass for it. And nothing of interest was out for me, but I had time to kill, and I really wanted to check it out, so I went and saw the Dwayne Johnson film Skyscraper in Dolby Cinema because it was free with my AMC Pass. And yeah, I mean, the movie was ridiculous. I mean, I didn't expect any less from it. It had too many things going on. It tried to stuff a lot of movie into one simple Die Hard ripoff, but it's not terrible. It's your typical Dwayne Johnson action piece. Maybe a little bit lower quality as far as story and plot goes, but I mean, it was okay. But, I mean, the Dolby Digital experience itself was really cool. Got to see what Mission Impossible Fallout will look like in there, so I'm definitely going to go check that out in Dolby Digital. Great sound. The seats are extra fancy. You can control the legs and the back separately. So, complete customization on your relaxation. You've got a Ultra HD screen with better picture quality, and you've got booming, massive speakers, best sound system available on the market for theaters. So that alone, I think, made it worth it for me to switch to AMC A List Pass. And I'm probably going to dump Moviepass, quite honestly. It just seems like a hell of a lot better of a deal. I will keep up on this as time goes by. I'm going to stay for a while with both passes, use them simultaneously, and I'll touch back on this subject at a little later point. But right now, I'm really blown away by AMC Stubs A List Pro. Jesus Christ, they need a new name. But it's a good program. I highly recommend you check it out. I do not work for AMC at all. Moviepass is still fun too. It's just, there's a lot of bullshit that's coming out. And quite honestly, I think the company's going to end up going under. I don't see how they could raise $1.2 billion in the next 6 months. I don't see it happening. It was a good thing while it lasted. I've gotten great value of it. I'm very appreciative for what Moviepass has done for me. But from now on, I'm definitely going to stick to the AMC Pass. And we'll see what happens with Moviepass. But it's not looking really good right now. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, listening to my 2 cents. San Diego Comic-Con is halfway finished right now. I'm going to do another episode early next week, talk about all the juicy good news and trailers and stuff that's come out then. This is actually the 5th episode of the podcast, which means that I'm officially getting on Spotify today. So if you're listening for the first time on Spotify, thank you for listening to the podcast. Once again, you can check us out on iTunes, Podbean. As of today, you can check us out on Spotify. I'll pimp that on the Facebook page at facebook.com/intellectual tea party. And of course, if you want to watch me talk instead of listen to me talk, you can go to youtube.com/intellectual tea party. So thank you for tuning in to the podcast, and share your views on what's been discussed today. If you get a link to this podcast on any sort of social media platform, I'd love to hear what you have to think. And anyway, thank you for listening in, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.